This week there was a startling article in one of the local newspapers here in South Africa that said that 30,000 teachers left the teaching profession in the past 5 years in South Africa alone. 30,000. This is a massive, massive number, especially when you're thinking about teachers. And this gives me nightmares of what is going to be potentially a massive teacher shortage that's coming. Because look, this could be a once-off thing, which clearly evidence suggests it isn't, because this has been taking place over the past 5 years. Now the question is, what happens in the next 5 years? Are we going to lose another 30,000 teachers? And if we do, that is a crisis. Right now, it's a significant number. It's non-trivial, because 30,000 is 7% of South Africa's complete teacher population. But add another 30,000, and now you've gone into 14%. Now you've gone into critical situation. So what is going on? Why are these teachers leaving? And what does it mean for us as parents? Now, there's a number of reasons why teachers are leaving. The one reason is because many of them have reached retirement age and they are basically retiring. A tragedy in itself. Why? Because some of our best and most experienced teachers are now leaving the system. You see what I'm saying? Now the experience is gone, and there's nothing bad with having new teachers on board, but we are losing the experienced guys, and that's a bad thing in itself. The other reason that teachers cite is that the working conditions are too difficult. And that is the case, because in many schools here in South Africa, teachers are sitting with 40 to 50 sometimes learners in one single class. And it's tough. It's tough. Even with 20 learners, it's tough. I've been a teacher, I know, ask me. But with 40 to 50 learners in the class, it's crazy. So what do we do as parents? What do we do as a community considering these problems? Because this is only one problem among many with the education, and it's not just South Africa, right? It's across the world. There are problems with education across the world. That's why private schools are booming, because those who can afford it are sending their kids to private schools. But even that is becoming affected by this, because it could be an expensive private school, it could be a free government school or an expensive private school. What parents don't understand is, yeah, you might get better teachers, yes, you might get more qualified people, but it's still the same curriculum. It's still the same outdated, over a century old curriculum. So that's the one problem. The other problem is, if there is a teacher shortage, sooner or later, even the private schools are going to feel it. And if they can't find good teachers, they're going to need to up the salary. And when they up the salaries, then the fees go up. As it is, they are so expensive that most people can't afford them. When they have to up teacher salaries, when, not if, because it's going to happen, then they are going to become even more unaffordable. So that's not a solution, at least not a sustainable solution. So what does that leave us with? What it leaves us with is us as parents have to come up with solutions for our own kids. Solutions that are viable, affordable, safe, and will ensure that our children still get a good education that will enable them to operate, to work on a world-class level. So how do we do that with schools being what they are, with the crisis being what it is? I think we need, for starters, number one, we need a culture shift. Not just in South Africa, especially in South Africa, but globally. And the culture shift must go from one that requires, in our minds, schooling for education, to one where people focus on their own education. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean that sooner or later, as parents and as learners, we are going to need to take ownership of our own learning, because there's not going to be always this concept of school. There's not always going to be somebody prodding you with a stick, pushing you to get things done. There's not always going to be that sage on the stage to tell you, right, now you do this and then this and then that. In fact, it's already like that. In the world of work, the idea of attending physical workshops and physical courses, in-class courses, is gone, right? Because companies, and I run a training institute, so I know, companies cannot spare workers to go out for a day or 2 days or 3 days on a training course and leave all their work, because it's bad for the company, it's bad for the employee also, because the employee comes back to a massive workload, and by the time they catch up that workload, everything that they learned in the training course is forgotten. So what companies are opting for now is for micro learnings. Spend an hour or two every day learning an online course, and then apply as you are learning. So there's no backlog, there's no absenteeism, there's no having to go travel, there's reduced costs. So in the real world, this has already happened. We have to take ownership of our own learning. We have to go, we have to log in, we have to learn online. Now, when it comes to our kids, and especially us as parents, we need to embrace this. We need to shed that old mindset, that having to attend school mindset. Yes, I'm not saying kids must leave school. I'm not saying that at all. But while they are in school, why not encourage them, enable them to learn online, to learn something they are interested in, something they are passionate about online. And that's the crux of my point. We need to embrace the culture of online learning here in South Africa. And I don't mean informal learning. That happens. I mean, you on social media, you're on TikTok, you're in Instagram, YouTube, you can learn a lot, but that's informal learning. I'm talking about formal learning where you get a qualification fully online. How cool would it be if every kid learned two things: how to use technology for learning, firstly, and secondly, using that to develop a love of learning. Wow, they'll be unstoppable. They will be unstoppable. And here's the best part. It's not something difficult or impossible. There are people who are doing that. People I know, students of mine. When I was in Port Elizabeth, Kabeja, I met a family which I was totally impressed by. They came to meet me at one of my workshops. So there was this youngster, he's about 14, his brother is 11. They brought their mom along. And guess what? The two kids and the mom were studying the exact same course, the App Academy course at IT Varsity. So they just came to meet me as the guy behind it, as one of the lecturers, but also the founder of IT Varsity. Now imagine that. That is the most touching, the most inspirational thing I have ever seen. And when I founded IT Varsity, I had no idea that something like this was going to happen, that I'm going to encounter an entire family that's sitting and learning together, mom and child learning at the same school, doing the same course. And the mom said something that we all expected, that the 14-year-old was the sharpest, he was catching on the fastest, and he was teaching the others. So if we give them that opportunity, they will seize the opportunity, and they will use that to learn by themselves, to educate themselves, but also to educate us, to educate others. Because this is a generation that is almost born with a cell phone in their hands, right? And we all know it. As much as I'm a tech guy, I can tell you there are youngsters out there who are far, far sharper than me when it comes to technology. I have to ask my kids for ideas and advice. So this family is doing it. They are living it. And this is not a wealthy family. This is not a high-income family. If anything, this is a middle to low-income family that is learning this course. It just happened to be a free course. Now, if we can empower our kids with this, if we can teach them how to learn online, embrace the idea of learning online, we will have a generation of learners who have so many different experiences. We will have polymaths, because right there in our pockets, guys, is the biggest library ever known to mankind. And that is the future of learning. And schools are the past. And to conclude, I saw a horrific video of this young teacher in the United States who's teaching high school, and she says she gave them an essay to do with 5 sentences only. She asked them to write 5 sentences on a topic, and they couldn't do that. She says our kids cannot write, they cannot read, they cannot think for themselves, and they expect everybody to do things for them. That, my friends, is a result of this outdated, antiquated education system. It's not the kids' fault.